بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف وجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن عظمتك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We are discussing the seventh point in the introduction, which is about linguistic principles, al-Usul al-Fiqh. As we had an introduction last week, we said, sorry, it was this week, it was Monday. We had introduction and we said that these principles are used when we know what is the literal meaning, what is the real meaning. Basically, we know موضوع له. المعنى الموضوع له, the meaning for which the term is designated, we know. But we doubt whether that is meant actually or something else is meant. So you don't have doubt about what is the literal meaning or what is al-ma'na al-haqiqi. If you doubt that, that was previous discussion. That you use tabadur, sihhatul ham, al-ittirad, tansisul luqawi. That was to define what is the real meaning. Now, the question is, we know the real meaning, but just we know, we may not know, or we may not be sure 100%, is it meant by the speaker or not? So, we use a set of linguistic principles. The first is asalatul haqiqah, primordiality of the real meaning. Okay? What does it mean, asalatul haqiqah, primordiality? It means our first assumption should be al-haqiqah unless it is proved otherwise. So that's the main thing, that's the basis. Okay? إذا شك في إرادة المعنى الحقيقي أو المجازي من اللفظ. If there is doubt whether the true meaning is meant or metaphorical meaning, من اللفظ. إرادة من اللفظ. Which meaning is meant by the term? بأن لم يعلم بوجود القرينة على إرادة المعنى المجازي ما احتمال وجودها. We are not sure whether there is an evidence which indicates that metaphorical meaning is meant or there is no such evidence. We are not sure, but there is a possibility. Okay? Is it clear? كما إذا شك. For example, there is a doubt whether في أن المتكلم, whether the speaker هل أراد, has meant من الأسد, by أسد في قوله رأيت أسدان, when he said I saw a lion, we have doubt whether the speaker has meant الحيوان المفترس أو الجندي الشجاع. Has the speaker meant that animal which is attacking and is a kind of wild animal, or he meant a brave soldier? Al-Jundi, Al-Jundi means soldier. Shuja means brave. So, you know the meaning of lion. but you don't know whether it is used here in its true sense, which is the animal, which you know that the animal which is wild, or it is used in its metaphorical sense, which is a brave person. فَعِنْدَئِذٍ, in such situation, يُعَالَجُ الشَّكْ عِنْدَ الْعُقَلَاءِ بِضَابِطَةٍ خَاصَّةٍ. This doubt is treated among rational people according to a specific rule. You know, I very much love you to enjoy reading the Arabic and understand. It's very actually clear text, but maybe for you it's a bit difficult, I don't know, but it's very clear, and if you understand, it's very sweet. يُعَالَجُ الشَّكْ عِنْدَ الْعُقَلَاءِ. So doubt is treated among the rational people بِضَابِطَةٍ خَاصَّةٍ, according to a specific rule. ضابطة means rule, criteria. What is it? وهي الأخذ بالمعنى الحقيقي ما لم يدل دليل على المعنى المجازي. You should take. أخذ means to take, means assume. You should take or assume معنى الحقيقي ما لم يدل, as long as there is no sign, no dalil, no indicator that metaphorical meaning is meant. So unless it is proved that metaphorical meaning is meant, you assume that ma'na al-haqiqi is meant. So you go for ma'na al-haqiqi in two cases. When you are sure that ma'na al-haqiqi is meant, or when you are in doubt. But even if you are in doubt and there is no evidence for the other side, still you go for ma'na al-haqiqi. Pardon? Yeah. It's primordiality of haqiqah. وَهَذَا مَا يُعَبَّرُ عَنْهُ بِأَصَالَةِ الْحَقِيقَةِ. This is what is meant by أصالة الحقيقة. Pardon? يُعَبَّر means it's said. تعبير.
Is it like manzur, maqsood?
No. يُعَبَّر means it is said. It's called. This is called. This is called أصالة الحقيقة. You know, we say بعبارة أخرى, in other words. يُعَبَّر عنه means this is called. Second, أصالة العموم. Sometimes a term or a structure which is normally used for umum, like kul. You remember we said kul, yes. Jami, jam with alif and lam, okay? Nakare fi siyaq al-naf. These are structures or terms that are used to indicate generality. Akram kulla alim. Okay? Respect all scholars. So, sometimes such terms or structures are used and you know that they normally indicate generality, but you have doubt about this particular case because you say maybe there is an evidence that I am not noticing or has not reached me. What do Oghala do? Oghala would not stop acting upon umum just because maybe there is a qarina for khas which I have not received or I have not noticed. Okay? You should assume that am is meant unless it is proved otherwise. If it is not proved otherwise, you go for am. Why? Because that's the first assumption. Asalatul umum, primordiality of the generality. إذا ورد عام في الكلام كما إذا قال المولى أكرم العلماء. When a general has come, ورد في الكلام, it has been mentioned. Like your master says أكرم العلماء. جام with ألف اللام, الجام المحلى بالألف واللام يدل على العموم. أكرم العلماء, respect all scholars. وشك في ورود التخصيص عليه وإخراج بعض أفراده. And you have doubt whether there is a kind of exclusion. Maybe some of the instances of alim are excluded. كالفاسق. Maybe master, when he said akrim kulla alimin, he didn't mean actually kulla alimin. He meant kulla alimin, but except sinful people. فالأصل هو الأخذ بالعموم. What we should assume is that we act and take umum, the generality, وترك احتمال التخصيص ما لم يدل دليل قطعي عليه. As long as there is no decisive indicator for khas, we go for am. Okay? ترك احتمال التخصيص. Leave aside the possibility of takhsis, exclusion. Why? Because you don't have any decisive evidence. Maybe a better example could be, because some people say, for example, we know that we should not respect, fasiq, we don't have doubt, for example. Maybe some people say we have no doubt. But maybe another example is, for example, Mawla says, Akram al-ulama. And you don't know, he means all ulama, or he means only ulama in religion. Theologians, for example, faqih. So does it include those who are ulama of science or not? We say as long as it is am and there is no evidence, so you should respect all ulama. Okay? So, هذا ما يعبر عنه بأصالة العموم. This is called أصالة العموم, primordiality of generality. Third, أصالة الإطلاق. This must be very clear for you. We can now understand what is it. We have something, maybe a term or a structure that its first meaning, its mana zahiri is itlaq. But still you may doubt, perhaps it is modified, perhaps there is a qaid that modifies this, and perhaps I haven't received it or I didn't notice it. Uqala are not going to stop acting upon itlaq just because there is maybe a reason for modification. They assume that it is absolute or it is unconditional, it is not modified, it's not limited, unless it is proved otherwise. Okay? Because, Uqala cannot remain in doubt. Uqala have to sort out the problems. You have to have some rules to solve the problem. You cannot just wait. إذا ورد مطلق وشك في كونه تمام الموضوع أو بعضه. When an unconditional or absolute is mentioned and you doubt whether this is tamam al-mawzu, is the complete subject, topic, subject, it means that there is no extra modification, or it is part of it. It means that it has something else extra. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ. God has permitted selling. You don't know whether it is any kind of selling. So selling by itself is the subject of the whole. So permissibility has belonged to purchase, or it is a specific type of purchase which is permitted. For example, if it is purchase with uttering the formula of buying and selling, as siqa, siqatul bay', bi'tu, ishtaraytu. So if someone says, I have doubt, maybe ahallallahu al-bay' is not any kind of bay. It's bay when they recite the formula. We say, if you don't have evidence that decisively says that formula has to be recited, we assume that bay is bay, any bay. It doesn't need to be bay with some qaid, with some modifier. We go for itlaq. If you want to say there is something extra needed, you have to prove it. Yeah? Because Shara has not said anything. If Shara wanted, he should have mentioned. You remember Muqaddamatul Hikmah about it. Inshallah, we'll talk about it later as well. Or another example, when Shara says, أَعْتِقْ رَغَبَةً, release, free a slave. Has it to be mu'min or not? Asalatul Islam. If he wanted to be mu'min only, he should have said. He said, أَعْتِقْ رَغَبَةً. Is this ragaba or not? Yes. Okay, so I can release him. That's enough. If there is doubt. Okay? إذا ورد مطلق وشك في كونه تمام الموضوع أو بعضه. Is this mutlaq the entire subject, or it is this plus something else that limits it? It's ba'dul mawdu, it's part of the subject, but there is also something else that limits this. Please pay attention. When you add something to the subject, you are not expanding the extended, you are limiting it. The more you mention, the more limit you are bringing in. If you say man, rajul, okay, it has a certain extent. If you say rajul shuja, a brave man, you add something, but indeed you are making it more limited. So, is the subject al-bay' only, or it has to be al-bay' with formula? So, if you say al-bay' with formula, you are indeed limiting it. Yeah? If you say raqaba has to be mu'minah, you are limiting a'tiq raqabatan. Okay? إذا ورد مطلق وشك في كونه تمام الموضوع أو بعضه كما قال سبحانه أحل الله البيع واحتمل أن المراد هو البيع بالصيغة دون مطلقه. When mutlaq has been mentioned and there is doubt whether it is complete topic, subject, or part of the subject, like God says, God has permitted purchase, and wahtumila, there is a possibility that what is meant is bay basiqa, is purchase with formula. Bi'atu shtaraitu, like siqatu zawaj, zawajtu, and then other things, qabiltu. So this is called siqa, means the formula which is recited. Duna mutlaqi, so it has to be with siga, not any purchase. If there is such a doubt, فالمرجع عندئذ. Al-marja means what we have to refer to. The solution is this. Our reference should be to this asl. Al-akhdhu bil-itlaq. We assume that itlaq is meant. وَإِلْغَاءُ احْتِمَالِ التَّغْيِيدِ. And we disregard. Ilgha means to disregard, to cancel. Ilgha means to cancel, to terminate, to disregard. Here means to disregard. We disregard, we reject the possibility of taghyid, being modified. هذا ما يعبر عنه بأصالة الإطلاق. This is called أصالة الإطلاق. You have a question?
Can you say that again?
Yes. From where?
The last two sentences.
Okay. So I said from the beginning. When mutlaq is mentioned, means something which is not conditional. There is no limit, modification. I don't want to say general because then it will be confusing with am. But basically means something which is general, something which is unconditional, and you have doubt whether this is the complete topic, so that you keep it keep it as it is, or it is part of the topic and there is a modifier to be added to it. For example, God says, "Ahallallahu al-bay," purchase is permitted. You don't know, permitted is something that is for bay, or it is for bay plus something else. Purchase with for recitation of formula. If you have doubt and there is no evidence that it has to be with that extra, so you say, God said purchase and this is purchase. Without formula, with formula, it's purchase. So if mutlaq is mentioned and you have doubt about whether it is complete topic or not, complete subject or not, and there is a possibility that what is meant is bay basiqa, is purchase with the recitation of the formula and not any purchase, here our assumption should be that we choose itlaq, we say it's not modified, and we disregard the possibility of being modified. This is what is called asalatul itlaq. Principle 4. Asalatu adam taqdir. When again you have a text or a speech and you think maybe something is not mentioned but it is meant, maybe, what should you do?
Clear.
Uqala say, as long as there is no evidence that says something is meant but not mentioned, so you should assume that there is nothing such, there is no such a thing that mentioned, meant but not mentioned. Yeah? Because if you really want to take these possibilities and stop acting upon taqdir, then every sentence becomes, ambiguous. Someone says maybe this was meant, someone says maybe that was meant, then the whole thing will be useless. إذا ورد كلام واحتمل فيه تقدير لفظ خاص. If a speech is mentioned, okay, there is a text, there is a passage, or oral, and it is likely that a specific term is muqaddar. Taqdir means to take it as muqaddar means it is meant but not mentioned. فالمرجع عند العقلاء هو عدم التقدير إلا أن تدل عليه قرينة. Unless there is an evidence which says there was such a thing that was meant but not mentioned, should assume that there was no such a thing.
It's
تقدير المقدر hidden. Does that mean hidden?
Hidden in this sense, that not mentioned but meant.
أن مقدر لكنه.
Yeah. Muqaddar, this we have in math that
It's hidden.
hidden, but in this sense that hidden means meant.
Oh, meant.
It's supposed to be there, but it's not mentioned.
Yes, it's meant but not mentioned.
But not mentioned.
كما في قوله سبحانه واسأل القرية التي كنا فيها. This example is example for what? I want to know who is sharp.
The people of the village.
What do you understand from this example?
That the qarya means the people of the village, not the village itself.
So, how do you relate this to asalatu adam al-taqdir?
Because here there is taqdir. Because if you go to a village and it's empty, you don't ask the wall, you have to ask the people. But the people are not mentioned.
So, is this an example for asalatu adam al-taqdir?
No, what I mentioned is actually taqdir. So
Yeah.
Mentioned.
For example, ahallallahu al-bay' was an example for asalatu al-itlaq. Akram al-ulama was an example for asalatul umum. Was'al al-qaryah allati kunna fiha. Actually, this is example for taqdir, not for adam taqdir. Because here there is evidence that this cannot be something about qaryah. You cannot ask village. Can you ask village? When you say ask village, it means ask people of the village. So, he says, Uqala assume that there is no taqdir unless there is a decisive evidence like this. So here there is evidence. We have a terminology in our istilah expression in Jose, which is very good, very helpful, but you have to understand it. Sometimes we say, is this example for nafi or for manfi? Is it for nafi or manfi? Means, is this an example for what is negated, or it is an example for negation? For example, we say, ما رأيت عالما, okay? Then sometimes you want to mention example of alim. We say, ما رأيت عالما كالعلامة طباطبائي, for example. It means that Allama Tabatabai is seen. And sometimes you say, Ma ra'aytu aliman, and you mean you didn't see Allama Tabatabai. So, it's very good distinction to make. Is this example for nafi or for manfi? For example, we say, like here, you don't assume that there has been taqdeer unless there is evidence. This example can be for before unless or for after unless. When you say like, so you have to understand, is it like when there is evidence or like for when there is no evidence? Is it misal for manfi or for nafi? Okay? Alhamdulillah, in Jose we have many of these kind of expressions that are very good. If I want to give you an example, these are like, analytical tools for analysis. Okay? For example, there is a car in front of you. You cannot just, analyze it with your fingers. You need tools. If you have good tools, in half an hour, you break down the car and make it into different parts. In Jose, we have tools that you put something in front of Talebe, in half an hour, he analyzes everything and put it on the table. Says, okay, this has 5 problems, this has 10 problems, But people who don't have these tools say, I feel there is a problem, but I don't know what is the problem, Or sometimes they think it's good. These things are very important. So, وَاسْأَلِ الْقَرْيَةَ الَّتِي كُنَّا فِيهَا. This is the example for where there is actually taqdeer. Okay? What is taqdeer? Ahl. Ask people of village, not ask village. It's clear. Ask people of village. No one doubts this. هذا ما يعبر عنه بأصالة عدم التقدير. Fifth, أصالة الظهور. Primordiality, the principle of primordiality of the outward meaning or apparent meaning. إذا كان اللفظ ظاهرا في معنى خاص. If the term is indicating an outward meaning. Okay? There is a zahir for this text. دون أن يكون نصا فيه. When we say zahir, means different from nas. Nas is 100%, zahir is less than nas. You remember we said we have mujmal and mubayyan. Mubayyan is either nas or zahir. Remember? So, there is no nas, it's zahir. So when it is zahir, it means that there is a possibility of another thing being meant. Because man al-zahiri means not 100%, 70%, 80%. Okay? So there is a chance that there is another thing which is meant. إذا كان اللفظ ظاهرا في معنى خاص من دون أن يكون نصا فيه بحيث لا يحتمل معه الخلاف. It's not nas so that there is no possibility of another meaning being meant. Please be careful. لا يحتمل معه الخلاف. This is not for zahir. This is for nas. Okay? He said it is zahir. It is not like nas that has no possibility of another meaning being meant. Okay? قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Is this nas for tawheed or it is zahir? It is nas. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. It is nas in tawheed. Okay? لا يحتمل معه. But if it is zahir, it can mean this, it can mean something else. فالأصل الثابت عند العقلاء هو الأخذ بظهور الكلام وإلقاء احتمال الخلاف. What is an established principle among the rational people is that when there is zahir, they say, okay, there is such possibility, but we don't pay attention. The possibility is very little. When, for example, he says, respect all scholars, there is possibility that all doesn't mean umum, but we say, zahir is umum.
Or we can say, Yadullahi fawqa aydihim.
Yes. Yadullahi fawqa aydihim is not zahiri, it's majazi, it's mu'arrad. Because we know that yad here doesn't mean power. Yeah. So, uqala disregard that little possibility which is there, but it's very little, that maybe another thing is meant. Okay? الأخذ بظهور الكلام والإلغاء احتمال الخلاف. They take the معنى الظاهري and disregard another meaning. هذا ما يعبر عنه بأصالة الظهور. This is what is called أصالة الظهور. Actually, as we said in the previous book, and I also mentioned last week, actually all of these are just one, and that is أصالة الظهور. أصالة الحقيقة, أصالة الأموم, أصالة الإطلاق, أصالة عدم التقدير, all of them go back to أصالة الظهور. Because when you have kul, it's not nas, but zahir is umum. When you say أعتق رغبة, إطلاق, zahir is that it is all raqaba, all the slaves. So, there is one underlying principle, and that is أصالة الظهور. ثم إن الأصول السابقة تثبت الظهور. أصالة الحقيقة just helps you to understand that الظاهر is حقيقة. أصالة الإطلاق helps you to understand that الظاهر is مطلق. الظاهر is إطلاق. Okay? So they help you to establish what is ظاهر. وتحقق مصادق لأصالة حجية الظهور. Indeed, they provide you with examples, instances of أصالة الظهور. Okay? So أصالة الحقيقة is one of the cases in which you use أصالة الظهور. أصالة الأموم, أصالة الإطلاق, أصالة عدم التقدير, all of them are instances for أصالة. The most important, the most underlying principle is أصالة الظهور. And if you take أصالة الظهور away, 99% of our conversations will stop. We can never understand each other. Our life will stop. But because there is always a possibility of another thing being meant, so sometimes we misunderstand each other. Sometimes we are confused. But most of the time, we understand correctly. Yes?
Salat al-Zuhur is one example in ayah Wazu, where is the al-Ma'u, is the clear water, is the example of a Salat al-Zuhur.
Yes, or for example, ulama say, وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ. This is actually the example that Sheikh Fazli mentions in one of his books. وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ. What is the zahir of ba? It says wipe, but it says بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, not رُؤُسَكُمْ. As zahir is ilsaq, means if it touches part of your head is enough. This is zahir. This is not nas, but this is zahir.
Could you explain further Salat al-Zuhur in Salat al-Nasr, please?
Asalatu?
Or Zuhur in Salat al-Nasr, the difference between them.
We don't have asalatu nas.
You said Salat al-Nasr is good wallahu ahad?
No, that's not asala.
But what is that?
Nas is 100%, so you don't have doubt. Nas is when there is 100%, so either you have nas or you don't have nas. But because zuhur is not 100%, then you doubt. And we say, okay, asl is that zuhur is meant. For nas, we don't need asalatul nas. Yes. Was a good question. Thank you. هذه الأصول مما يعتمد عليه العقلاء في محاوراتهم ولم يرد عنها الشارع فهي حجتهم. This sentence is very important. He says, these are principles that rational people in their conversations depend on them. Okay? Look at also the way I translate. Inshallah, it helps you if you want to become translator to make fluent in translation. So these are the principles on which rational people depend in their conversations. وَلَمْ يَرْدَ عَنْهَا الشَّارِعُ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the lawmaker, or Rasulullah and Ahlul Bayt, because in the first place is Allah, then Rasulullah explains to us, then Ahlul Bayt explain the Sunnah of the Prophet. So, we have not received any prohibition from Sharia. So, this is very important discussion. Whenever uqala do something, uqala bima hum uqala. Okay, it's very important. Not uqala because of other things. If uqala, rational people, they have some principles in their conversations. And religion has not put any ban on it or any reservation on it. So you can go by it. Okay? You don't need to have religion telling you these things. The fact that religion didn't stop this is enough for us. If it is something done by uqala. Okay? For example, like marriage. There is a hadith, khutbah of Imam Raza for marriage. Khutbah, when two people wanted to get married. Imam Raza alayhi salam. So Imam Raza in that khutbah says, even if there was no ayah and no sunnah, it was enough that uqala marry. Okay, uqala marry. Uqala don't do adultery or fornication or say, we don't marry. Uqala marry. So Islam, if was silent, if it was not saying anything, still it was enough for us to marry because uqala do this. But of course, Islam has come and encouraged us, or produced some, for example, further details. But you don't need to receive everything from religion. Some of the things we receive from uqala, and just we make sure that there is nothing wrong, that religion is against it. Or for example, many things that we eat, we drink, many things, for example, even selling, buying, all these are, things that uqala were doing and Sharia has not stopped or has just endorsed. Anyway, whenever there is something, this is a very big discussion in Usul, bina'ul uqala. Whenever rational people do something and there is no ban or no prohibition about it in religion, you can go and act according to uqala. Okay? But uqala bima hum uqala. Be careful. Don't say, for example, these people who are drinking wine also are uqala. Yes, they might be uqala, but drinking wine is not because they are uqala. Drinking wine is a habit or is a custom, it's something they're used to it. And of course, we have ban on it, but even if we didn't have ban on it, we could not say these are uqala, bima hum uqala. Yes, they are rational people, but not in everything that they do, they are rational. You have to understand, this is something that uqala are doing, bima hum uqala. This cannot be based on a custom or any decision, contract. Why all people in their conversations, in all languages, they assume that zahir is meant? Because this is the only way that aql can understand, we can speak to each other, we can communicate. Otherwise, if you just stop and suspend understanding because there is a possibility of something else being meant, 99% of the cases we have to suspend our conversation or understanding. So this is very important. Uqala bima hum uqala. Not uqala bima they are influenced by something else. Yes.
Sheikh, this logical principle seems to use asal al-itlaq itself. That as long as logic says this, and Shara has not prohibited it, so we don't need to prohibit it. Seems like asal al-itlaq. So the principle.
Asalatul itlaq is about a text from Shara. you are maybe referring to something else. Asalat al-itlaq means that we have a text from Shari and the Shari has not made any qaid, and he could have made qaid, and he was in maqam al-bayan. So we say muqaddamat al-hikmah are there. It means that he meant it in an unconditional way, or in a way which is not limited.
It seems to use the same logic.
The logic is the same. All is asalatul dhuhur. All is asalatul dhuhur. Yes.
But this is with nusus, that is with logic.
Yeah. Nas, there is no doubt. It's 100% clear. But when there is doubt, if there is an established meaning which is very, dominant, the zahir is dominant. The other possibility is very little. I gave you example before. For example, if someone says in front of other people, I owe this person 1,000 pounds. And then later he denies. He says, I didn't mean I owe him 1,000 pounds, literally. I meant, he has done lots of good things for me, and if I wanted to, for example, make money for it, it was like 1,000 pounds. Uqala say no. Although this is possible, but what is ma'na zahiri? If you didn't put any evidence that you meant something else, we should go by ma'na zahiri. Otherwise, we can never establish anything. We have an expression in Farsi. We say, sang ruye sang band nemishe. Have you heard this?
Sang ruye sang band nami.
Band nemishe. Yes. This is something that you have to be Farsi speaker to understand. So, sometimes, when people question something and then we see that it's getting to the bottom of everything, so we say, if we act like this, then nothing can be established. Imagine you are making a wall, putting a stone on a stone. Okay? If someone is bringing this down, it means that no stone can be put on another stone. So we can never build anything. Okay? So this is something that we use sometimes. Sang, we sang, band, nemishe.
There's a little thing here in the last sentence. It bothers me. وَهَذِهِ الْأُصُولِ. Why is هَذِهِ? It shouldn't be وَهَذَا الْأُصُولِ.
هذه. Because جمع مكسر.
Oh,
الأصل هذا. But الأصول
yes.
هذه. هذه الأصول مما يعتمد عليه العقلاء في محاوراتهم. محاورات, not محاورات. It's wrong, محاورات. ولم يرد عنها الشارع. This is what reasonable people, rational people use in their conversation, and the lawmaker, Shari Muqaddas, has not banned, has not prohibited. فهي حجة. So it is a valid proof.
Yarda is banned.
Yes, Rada' means to ban, to prohibit, to stop. Radi' means obstacle, barrier. Rada'. Rada' and mana' and zajr and nahi, these are very close to each other. Okay.
What? Sorry, one word is rudda, is it? Rudda is going back to, is it?
That's a with tashdid. Radda yaruddu
Radda.
means to send back.
Send back.
Al-amru thamin. The 8th point. Al-ishtiraku wa taraduf. You had this in Manta, and I think also in Usul we had it. Even in Usul we had this. What is ishtirak? When you have one term, but it has more than one meaning. Al-ishtirak ibaratun عن كون اللفظ الواحد موضوعا لمعنيين أو أكثر. One term has been designated for 2 meanings or more, 3 meanings maybe 70 meanings. They say ayn in Arabic has 70 meanings. Ayn. Ayn with ayn, not with hamza. Not ayn. Ayn.
As in I.
Yes. It can be I, it can be a spring, it can be a spy, it can be self. Many things can be. So, ishtirak means equivocal, means something has different meanings. But different meanings separately, you know. Different meanings, for each meaning.
Not connected.
Pardon?
Not connected to each other.
Maybe connected, but for each of them, separately designated. بالوضع التعييني أو التعيني. You remember تعييني and تعيني?
Specific and
تعييني means someone or some, for example, maybe committee, I don't know, a group, a body, has designated and allocated this term to this meaning. Ta'ayuni is by repetition. So many times they used it so that now, whenever they hear this, that meaning comes to mind. وَيُقَابِلُهُ التَّرَادُفُ. Taraduf means to be synonymous. It's opposite. You have two or more terms, but they have one meaning. In ishtirak, you have one term with many meanings. Here you have many terms, one meaning. Is it clear? Synonymous. وضع اللفظين أو الأكثر لمعنى واحد. You have two or more terms which mean the same. This is also possible. واختلفوا في إمكان الاشتراك أولاً ووقوعه بعد تسليم إمكانه ثانياً. Some people have doubted possibility of ishtirak. Some people have said, okay, it is possible, but we have doubt in wuqu'i, happening, whether it has happened or not. So remember in Kalam also we had imkan and wuqu. And we said, adallu dalilan ala imkan al-shay'a wuqu'uhu. Yeah? What is the best proof for something being possible? The fact that it has happened. Adallu dalilan ala imkan al-shay'a wuqu'uhu. Okay? So, some people say we have doubt about imkan, possibility of ishtirak. Some people said no. We accept possibility, but we have doubt in wuqu'i, in happening, in occurring.
What does ishtirak mean?
Ishtirak means one term has two or more meanings, like ayn, or in Farsi, sheer. Sheer in Farsi,
Milk and lion.
milk or lion or tap or water.
Oh,
You know,
tap.
yes, it's also sheer. It's a shira up, shira samavar. So sheer can be lion, can be milk. There is a poem. It says, "An yeki shir ast andar badiye, wan degar shir ast andar badiye." But they are the same, because badiya also has two meanings. Badiya sometimes means desert. Sometimes badiya means the bowl. You know the. So it says one is lion in desert, one is milk in bowl. But both of them looks the same. An yeki shiras andar badiye, when yeki shiras andar badiye. آن یکی شیر است آدم میخورد این یکی شیر است آدم میخورد.
We understood this.
That is the lion that eats human beings, that is the milk that human beings eat. So, yes. So this is ishtirak. Okay? This is ishtirak. Means one term has more than one meaning. فَذَهَبَ الْأَكْثَرُ إِلَى الْإِمْكَانِ. Most of scholars, they said ishtirak is possible. لأن أدل دليلا عليه هو وقوعه. The best reason for possibility of ishtirak is that we have actually many cases of ishtirak. مثلا فلفظة العين ذات معان حقيقية كثيرة. One example. Ain has many true meaning. Don't say they are majazi. If it is majazi, it's not ishtirak. It has to be designated for each of them. It's ma'nai haqiqi. Al-Baqiyah. Al-Ain al-Baqiyah means eye. The one that cries. Al-Jariyah, the one that flows, which is a spring. Al-Dhahab, gold. Al-Dhahab, silver. So these are four meanings. Also a spy, can be a spy, can be, for example, someone who is reliable. So, why there was such need for using the same term for different meanings? Because those people who have doubted this, they said, this is not wise to use the same term for different meanings. But Ayatollah Subhani says, the reason is that there were different tribes and they had different terms. Then when they wanted to compile Arabic dictionaries, they went to different tribes and registered. So maybe one tribe was using ain for this meaning, another for another meaning, but when we put them together, now we say in Arabic you can use ain for all of these meanings. وَمَرَدُّ الْإِشْتِرَاكِ. Marad means like marja, means it goes back to this point. إلى اختلاف القبائل العربية القاطنة في أطراف الجزيرة. Arabic speaking tribes that were in different parts of Arab Peninsula. Al-Jazira means Al-Jazira al-Arabiyya, Arab Peninsula. They had اختلاف, they had differences في التعبير عن معنى الألفاظ, in meaning of the terms. فقد كانت تلزم الحاجة طائفة إلى التعبير عن معنى بلفظ وتلزم أخرى التعبير بذلك اللفظ عن معنى آخر. The need, because in language it's mostly a matter of need. One tribe had the need of using for this meaning one term, another people use for the same meaning another term. Or sometimes for the same term, they used it in different meanings. They used it in one meaning, they used the same term in another meaning. So both ishtirak and taraduf can happen because of the needs. But when the scholars of lugha, those who are experts in Arabic language, they compiled all the accents and all different these sub Arabic language. لما قام علماء اللغة بجمع لغات العرب ظهر الاشتراك اللفظي. Then they saw, there are some terms that have more than one meaning. وربما يكون مرده إلى استعمال اللفظ في معناه المجازي. The second possibility is this, that at the beginning it had one meaning, but they used it metaphorically in another meaning. Then they used it again in that metaphoric meaning. They liked it, they used it, they kept using it, then it became وضع تعيني. Okay? Yes.
Maybe a combination of both.
Yes, both of them, yes, actually both. ربما يكون مرد إلى استعمال اللفظ في معناه المجازي بكثرة. So they use a term in its metaphoric sense a lot, yes.
With the Majazi, is it that the new meaning has become more famous than the original meaning? Or it doesn't
No,
matter?
sometimes both remains. Sometimes the previous meaning is abundant, we call it mahjur. Sometimes no, both remains, we call it manqul. Manqul and mahjur. ربما يكون مرده إلى استعمال اللفظ في معناه المجازي بكثرة. It has been used in a metaphorical sense, in abundance, frequently, إلى أن يصبح الثاني معنى حقيقيا. كلفظ الغائط. غائط initially, in the beginning, is the place when someone goes like washroom, toilet. But it is also used metaphorically for, when you want to get rid of something, that thing which comes out. So this is majaz. But in the Quran, it is used also in the metaphoric sense. Maybe because the Quran wanted to be polite and not to use the term which is directly used for that. But then gradually, now everyone when he hears this term in Arabic, he thinks of the meaning which used to be metaphoric. فهو موضوع للمكان الذي يقضي فيه الإنسان حاجته. يقضي فيه الإنسان حاجته, of course, it's general, means when you meet your need, but it is used indirectly for toilet. Qaza or hajat, sometimes it's general, but sometimes means just going to toilet. Like, restroom, and sometimes say restroom, but in a specific sense. كما في الآية المباركة أو جاء أحد منكم من الغائط. سورة مائدة آية 6. ثم كني به عن فضلة الإنسان إلى أن صار حقيقة فيها. It became حقيقة, true meaning for the term, مع عدم حجر المعنى الأول. But the first meaning is not forgotten. It's not mahjur. So the first meaning is there. The second meaning is also established.
Sheikh, what do we call this? That one is mahjur. This one is what?
منقول.
Manqul.
نعم ربما. Pardon?
الغائط, the first meaning is
Place, toilet.
place, the toilet.
Yes.
And even the Quran uses the same way. وَجَعَلَ أَخُذُ مِنَ الْغَائِطِ.
Yeah, but Quran doesn't use it for toilet. Quran uses for something that comes out in toilet.
I see.
نعم ربما يذكر أهل اللغة للفظ واحد معاني عديدة. Yes, sometimes the experts of language, for one term they mention different meanings. And you have to be careful. When you take a dictionary, you have to be careful. Sometimes all these meanings are not haqiqi. Some of them are majazi, or some of them are examples of ma'na al-haqiqi. If there is 10 meanings there, it's not that they are all equal or they are all haqiqi. You have to be careful. لكنها ربما يكون من قبيل المصادق المختلفة لمعنى واحد. وهذا كثير الوقوع في المعاجم. This happens a lot in dictionaries. وقد اشتمل القرآن على اللفظ المشترك. Quran has also used terms which have different meanings. كالنجم. Najm in Arabic means al-kawkab, star, وَالنَّبَاتَ الَّذِي لَا سَاقَ لَهُ. Plants. Plants are two. Some plants are like, for example, cucumber, tomato, they grow and they have a, what you call it?
Stem.
A stem. They have a stem. Some just remain on the soil. Like melon, for example, maybe, or they don't, or a strawberry. So, najm is sometimes used as star, sometimes means a special plant which is growing only on the soil. La saqa lahu, saq, no step. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى. This is a star. When the star collapses, drops. وَالنَّجْمُ وَالشَّجَرُ يَسْجُدَانِ. This najm and shajar, by comparison, najm means, shajar has a trunk, and but najm means just on the floor. هذا كله في المشترك اللفظي. This is all about مشترك اللفظي. Means you have one term, different meanings. We have also مشترك معنوي, and that is when you have one term, one meaning, but that meaning has many instances. For example, al-insan, it can be zayd, it can be am, it can be back, but al-insan, it's not mushtarak al-lafzi because only one meaning. But the meaning is is kulli, can be used for different cases. أما المشترك المعنوي فهو عبارة عن وضع اللفظ لمعنى جامع. The term is designated for a kind of common meaning. يكون له مصادق مختلفة, which has different instances. كالشجر الذي وضع لما قام على ساق من نباتات الأرض وله أنواع كثيرة. شجر, tree is designated for a plant which has stem, and it can have many different types, many different cases. It's a term which has universal general meaning, but it is not mushtarak al-lafzi, mushtarak ma'nawi, because it's only one meaning. Is it clear? When you say water, it can be applied to millions of water, but water has one meaning. It's not mushtarak al-lafzi. Is it clear? Okay. We stop here. Inshallah, we continue next week. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.